Welcome back to my shed build. Now this is the next in a series of videos where I build this shed. Now it's got to the point now where we've got the roof on and I'm going to put some felting on the roof. Now so far hopefully you would have seen the ground preparation in this video, then the floor build for the actual shed, then the walls going up, and then the roof structure, and then the cladding. Okay, hopefully you've seen all those. If you haven't, might be an idea to go back and then you can see how we've got to this stage. Right, so what I've got to do now is put some felt on the roof. Let me show you it from outside. Right, as you can see now all the cladding's on. I've put a fascia board on here and one on the back as well. Now on the sides, obviously, that's the felt is going to wrap around those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breathable membrane over the roof, which is probably a bit overkill. But since I've got some, I might as well use it. So first of all, let's measure up some membrane and then put it on the roof. Right, so the breathable membrane I'm going to use is the same stuff I use for the wrapping the outside of the walls. It's this stuff, Rhinovent Ultra. Okay, and it's just a breathable membrane. Now I don't think you can't really tear it. Yeah, it's quite good. I don't think you're really supposed to put breathable membrane under felt, but I've got it. I'm going to use it anyway. What could possibly go wrong? Now, if you know if there's any reason why I shouldn't have done this, then let me know in the comments. But the problem is, by the time you let me know, I would have already done it. Anyway, before I do that, what I've got to do is I've got to run some tape. If we look at the roof there, you've got a bit of sunshine coming through. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a gap. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run some of this stuff, which is the bitumen tape I used for the base. I'm going to run a strip of this along the top. Now that should give me a little bit of extra protection. In theory it's going to be covered in felt anyway, but just to make me feel better about myself, I'm going to put a stretch of that across the top of the roof. Right, let's get up on the roof and start sticking. Right, so stripping that is now stuck on the top. In theory that should stop any rain coming through, but it should be good anyway. Right, the next thing we've got to do is chop our lumps of breathable membrane to the right length. Now these are 1.5 meters wide, so I'm hoping I'm just going to have one on either side and then a strip down the middle. But first of all, let's measure the shed. 4.4. Right, so the shed's 4.4 metres wide. I'm going to leave a little bit, so I'm going to cut it about 4.6 metres. So I've got enough for an overhang at either end. So hopefully I've got enough. Let's chop two bits of that, 4.6 metres long. Right, so before I start laying this membrane over, what I want to do is quickly round off this edge here, because I want to minimise the risk of anything tearing. So what I'll do is I'll quickly get my angle grinder and quickly run along the edge here and probably this edge here as well. Okay, just to get rid of any sharp edges. Now in theory the roof line goes down and this shouldn't be a problem, but let's do it anyway. Right, so I guess normally you would lay it on the roof and then overhang it over the end and then staple it at the bottom, but because I'm trying to do it on my own, it's a little bit breezy. I'm going to try and do it the other way. I'm going to staple it along the bottom and then fold it onto the roof. Hopefully that'll be okay. Right, so obviously to start with, I've got to staple it along this edge here. I've got to make sure I leave enough overhang, and then hopefully that'll be the right length for the other end. So let's get the first couple of staples in. Right, so the wind has just caught that as I've been stapling it, and it's already put it up on the roof for me. So let's make the most of that. Right, so this side on, all I've got to do now is repeat the process for the other side. It could be a bit tricky because obviously there's no room around there. Right, I've got to do that and then come back to you in a minute. Right, so now I've got one sheet on either side. I've just cut myself the difference. Okay, that's 47 centimetres. I cut it really badly, but I won't know how bad it is until I've actually rolled it on the roof. Right, let's put this on, then that overlaps that way and that way. Right, so that's the breathable membrane all on. It's all stapled down. All the staples I've hit with a hammer to make sure they're flat. I've done anything piercing the felt when I put it on. Now I'm going to leave this for a couple of days. I've got to cover it in the tarpaulin because it's going to rain. Can you believe it? Right, let's get some felting done later. Right, well I've had to leave this for a couple of weeks, so I've covered it over in the tarpaulin. So the next thing to do is take the tarpaulin off and then start laying some felt. Right, so as you can see, I've laid the tarpaulin on the grass. It's the biggest flat surface I've got. It's not even flat, but it's flattish. Normally you wouldn't lay this directly on the grass because the grass doesn't like it much and you don't want to kill your grass. Our grass is already dead, but I'll put the tarpaulin down anyway. Right, I've cut these two to length. Now I'm going to leave these for about 20 minutes to settle. It's a nice hot day. They should settle, stretch out, make sure there's no creases in them. Then I'll roll them back up, get them on the roof. Right, so the next step, what we've got to do is find out how far up on the roof these felts are going to come. So what we've got to do is, first of all, measure how wide these are. Now, I normally say on the packet how wide it is, but always a good idea to measure it anyway. So let's give that a measure. Right, so we now know that they're 1 metre wide. Now what I've got to do is, the felt's going to come down here and then go down the front and then wrap underneath the fascia there. Okay, so what I've got to do is measure from that point all the way around and up and make a mark at 1 metre. Right, so I've now got the first roll of felt on. I've put a nail either end. Now it's these things, if we can see. Okay, proper little felt nails. Now I've gone for the shorter ones because obviously it's only got one sheet of OSB on the roof. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these every 4 inches, which is probably about the width of my hand. So I use my hand as a spacer and I'll just put a row along now. Now you may have noticed there's an overhang here. There's an overhang of about 50mm on either end, okay, so we can wrap round over the ends. Right, let's get back on the roof and start nailing some nails in. Right, so I've now got my first row of nails in the top there. Now the front end here, this is where the felt comes down, and the idea is it wraps around like that. But the problem I've got is this hammer is too big. I can't get in there to hammer the nails in. So I think what I'm going to have to do is somehow fold that over and put a batten on there, and then somehow screw it in. That's the idea, but first of all I think I'll get some screws into a batten and then clamp it into place. Yeah, that's a good idea. Right, so I've now got my batten in with the screws. I've used my new angle driver, which is great. I've got my nails across the top. Haven't done the corners yet. Now what I'm going to do is do exactly the same as this on the back. So I'll get the first strip along the back. I won't film that because that's going to be really difficult because I don't have any room. Right, so I've now got this first strip on the back here as well. I managed to get all of the battening done around the back, which was almost impossible, but I managed it. What we've got to do now is there'll be one more sheet here and one more sheet here. Okay, I'm going to do this one first because I want the final overlap to come over this way and then overlap here. Okay, so then that way this is the side that we can see. We can only see the one join. Okay, and what we've got to do is mark probably about 4 inches along there as an overlap. Okay, so I've got to somehow find a way of measuring the line along there. Okay, so I mentioned mark my 4-inch line, and all I've done is I've run this edge of this square along the edge of the felt, used a very small nail in this 4-inch hole here, and I just basically dragged it along and scratched it. Didn't cut it, just scratched it. Right, let's get the next lot. Right, almost forgot in my hurry to get it all done. On the overlay between each sheet of felt, what I want to do is I want to put some of this stuff, which is a flexible roof sealant. Okay, this stuff is actually from Wix. It's like a bituminous goo, basically. I don't think it ever dries. It's just basically bitumen, and that will help seal between each layer rather than just relying on the nails. Problem is, on the first side, I've already started putting the nails in, so all I'm going to have to do is try and lift it up as much as I can and brush some in. On the other side, I'll be able to brush it first and then put it on. Right, but I almost forgot that. What an idiot. Right, always wear gloves when using this stuff because it sticks to everything. Right, so I've got my second one over this side. It's nailed along here and it's nailed and bitumened. So I've got this stuff between there and there. Last one I've got put now is I've got to do a painting of bitumen along there. I've got my 4-inch line running along there, so I'll paint bitumen on there, roll out the felt, and then that will wrap over here, and then I'll put some more bitumen along there, and then the final lot of nails along there. Right, let's get the last roll. Right, I'll quickly try and show you this before my microphones die or my camera falls over. Right, the corners, all I'm going to do is you've got to make sure that every fold, the rain could go downwards, okay? So you don't want any folds that are facing upwards. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the bottom is going to fold upwards like this. It's like wrapping a present. Then this side is going to fold in like that. So we've got a fold going downwards. And then at the top, we've got this fold like that. Okay, so that's how we're going to do that. We're going to put one nail in here. Now I've got slightly longer nails now because obviously it's got to go through quite a few layers of felt. Okay, let's get one in without hitting my fingers. One there. Obviously there's going to be a fascia going over the top of this anyway. Okay, so I've just got to repeat that on all the corners. Yeah, obviously the fascia is going to cover over all of this, and that makes for a nice corner. Okay, right, so that's the felt is now on the roof. I finished all the corners. These are very pretty corners, I must admit. Best corners I've ever done. All I've got to do now is put a fascia board on here and then a little finial on the end. I've just gone to Wickes and bought some more of this stuff. All I've got to do is chop it and screw it out there. That's easy. Right, let's do that. Right, so these are now cut to the right size. Now when I put them up here, what I want to do is I want to have a lip poking up above the roof line, about 10 mil. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, which is just a little bit of batten. It's about 10 mil. I'm going to use this, lay it across the top and then line up the top of my fascia with that. And then just screw it in. Right, so I've just made a couple of finials. They're literally just diamonds, 10 inches long, and I've put a chamfer on the edges. Okay, so there's one of those for each end. Oh, I think I need to change that bulb. Right, so that's about it for this video. All the felt is now on. All of my fascias are on. I've got my battening under here to hold the felt. Hopefully you've learned something from that video. Next thing I've got to do on this shed is obviously put some doors on and some windows on, but that's for another video. All right, thank you very much for watching. Bye. Oh, you can half sunbathe up here.